But I just can't believe you would say this about members of Congress. It's pretty pejorative, vicious. Let me finish. I just find it, Professor, appalling. Appalling that you would make a statement like this, a vicious statement like this, without talking to a single person about whom you made the statement. And I'm going to remind you, you know, you can only be young once, but you can always be immature. And you ought to think about that.
Fire away. I think you just called
You're going to do what you got to do, but I'm going to continue to use my time. And I'm going to use my time when I think it's appropriate to test.
And I'm going to use my authority as chairman
to test credibility, witnesses' credibility. So you do what you got to do, and I'm going to do what I got to do.
Good behavior in
But if that is meant to bully me, you're talking
no attempt
to the wrong
bully
guy.
you.
Okay.
No attempt to bully you. None at all.
The Senate floor lit up with intensity as Senator John Kennedy confronted a Yale law professor over shocking tweets aimed at Republican lawmakers. What began as a pointed question quickly turned into a dramatic clash, revealing deep tensions over respect, truth, and accountability. Senator Kennedy opened with a calm yet direct tone, reading aloud the professor's October 30, 2023 tweet. The words were appalling. She accused House Republicans of supporting Israel only if Americans were allowed to cheat on their taxes. Kennedy leaned in, sharp, deliberate, asking how many Republicans she actually spoke with before making such a sweeping, vicious claim. The professor admitted she hadn't spoken to a single one. Kennedy's patience broke. He told the professor directly that her comments weren't just wrong, they were appalling, vicious, and immature. Let's dive in.
We now turn to Senator Kennedy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thanks to all of our witnesses today.
Wait, listen.
Professor Sarin, you're a professor at Yale Law School?
I am.
Okay. And I see you've been pretty active on Twitter. I'm looking at one of your tweets from a few months ago, October 30th, 2023. I'd like to read it to you. The House Republican stance is, I kid you not, support for Israel as long as we make it easier for people to cheat on their taxes. End quote. Did you tweet that?
That's correct, yes.
Okay. How many Republican congressmen or women did you talk to before you made that statement?
I was reacting to the fact that, and we've talked about it actually.
Yes, ma'am, but first, if you could, how many Republican congresswomen or congressmen did you talk to?
I didn't talk to them. I actually was just reacting to the legislation that was proposed.
You didn't talk to any of them?
No, sir.
Before you said that every single one of them supports Israel only if it is made easier for people to cheat on their taxes?
I actually don't think that every single one of them believes
but
that.
That's what you said.
But I do think that the legislation passed by the House reflects a statement of purpose that in order to support Israel, it's important
I'm looking at what you said.
Allow taxpayers to be able to cheat on their taxes.
You said that every single House Republican, none of whom you talked to, would only support Israel if it was made easier for Americans to cheat on their taxes. Now, you said that, and you didn't talk to any of them.
Senator Kennedy, I am struck by, and perhaps this is something on which we agree, that it is incredibly important to support Israel. It is also incredibly important to make sure that taxpayers at the top of the distribution
we agree on Israel, but
share.
I just can't believe you would say this about members of Congress. It's pretty pejorative, vicious. Let me finish. Without talking to them. I mean, would it be possible for somebody to support a reduction to the IRS budget because they simply believe the federal government ought to have a balanced budget? Would that be a fair position? Would that be a principled position?
Except that actually doesn't work with respect to defunding
But would it be a
IRS.
principled position?
It wouldn't be an accurate position because defunding
But you don't
the
know because
IRS
you didn't talk to anybody, did you?
Well,
you just said it.
Defunding the IRS, the CBO agrees, everyone who's testifying today agrees that that is going to add to deficits, not reduce them.
Could it be that a House Republican wanted to reduce the IRS's budget because they think that the IRS is a model of inefficiency and shouldn't be rewarded with more money?
Well,
Could that have been a possibility, a motivation for the way they
Senator
voted?
Kennedy, I so appreciate that question because the reality
Could that have been
that the
a motivation for the way they voted?
and it relates very closely to what Senator
Could
King
that have
said,
been a motivation for the way they
reason
voted?
that you've seen an inefficient
Could that have
IRS.
been a motivation
If you allow
for the
the
way
witness
they
to
voted?
answer, you might get your answer, Senator
It
Kennedy.
frankly couldn't have been.
It
because
could or couldn't?
It could not have been.
How do you know you didn't talk to him?
Because the reason why you've seen
You
an
just
IRS
made this statement that
hasn't been able.
every Republican in the House supports Israel only if it has been made easier for people to cheat on their taxes. Could it be that maybe a House member thought that, well, the more money we spend, the more deficits we have, and the more deficits we have, the more pressure is put on interest rates, and the higher interest rates go, the more it hurts the poor. Could that have been
Senator
the position
Kennedy,
of one of the House Republicans?
Senator Kennedy,
Could it have been theoretically?
couldn't have been because
Could it-
everyone
it couldn't have
agrees.
been?
It frankly couldn't.
How do you
have
know
been.
you didn't talk to him?
Well, I know that everyone agrees, including witnesses across the aisle, including CBO, including every single tax expert that has contemplated this question, that defunding the IRS makes deficits worse, not better. And so this is a deficit
I just find it,
measure.
Professor, appalling that you would make a statement like this, a vicious statement like this, without talking to a single person about whom you made this statement. And I'm going to remind you, you can only be young once, but you can always be immature. And you ought to think about that.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you.
Let me just say that I think that the treatment of witnesses is beginning to degrade a bit here. And I'm going to strike some commentary if it continues down this road. I think personal insults to witnesses are not appropriate, and I will not be tolerant of that in this committee.
Well, could I respond, Mr. Chairman? You're going to...
Senator John Kennedy's exchange with the Yale law professor was more than just a heated back and forth. It was a defining moment that cut straight to the heart of integrity in public service. While the professor hid behind sweeping generalizations and partisan rhetoric, Kennedy demanded the one thing she could not provide: facts. His steady, deliberate questioning revealed what too often goes unchecked in politics today: reckless statements made without evidence, amplified to score political points at the expense of truth. Kennedy reminded the nation that accountability matters. He pressed her on whether she had spoken to even a single Republican before branding every House member with the vile accusation that they cared more about helping Americans cheat on taxes than standing with Israel. Her answer, admitting she spoke to none, exposed the hollow foundation of her argument. That was the turning point. Kennedy showed that when ideology replaces honesty, the result is dishonor. But Kennedy did not stop there. He offered alternatives she refused to acknowledge: Republicans who may have voted to cut the IRS budget out of genuine concern for efficiency, fiscal responsibility, or the crushing weight of deficits on working Americans. Instead of considering principle, the professor doubled down on her claim that such motives were impossible. And that's when Kennedy delivered the reminder that cut deepest: you can only be young once, but you can always be immature. It was more than a sharp retort, it was a lesson that public discourse requires responsibility, that words carry weight, and that to accuse an entire party of corruption without evidence is not just reckless, but appalling. Kennedy stood his ground not just for Republicans in the House, but for the principle that truth and fairness must govern our debates. In an era where soundbites often overshadow substance, Kennedy showed that clarity, persistence, and courage still matter. His clash with the witness underscored why he remains one of the Senate's most unflinching defenders of accountability. He didn't just protect his colleagues from slander, he protected the integrity of the institution itself. And in doing so, Kennedy reminded America that leadership isn't about shouting the loudest, it's about standing firm when the truth is under attack.